Police Minister Bheki Cele has deployed special units to deal with the illegal mining situation in Riverlea. It comes after a gunfight at the weekend, which led to 5 fatalities. Now, in recent years, illegal mining flourishing in the country as desperate groups of men are searching for precious metals in the abandoned mine shaft. So is this the way to go from authorities? Well, let's bring in crime expert Professor Jacob Mofokeng making time for me this morning. Prof, good to have you back on eNCA. So the running battles, first of all, with the SAPS. Now we're seeing extra forces being brought in like the TRT. You agree with this way that the authorities are handling it? Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to your viewers. Well, it is a temporary solution to the problem that has been emanating for a couple of years. Well, we know that this kind of short-term measures are there to give residents some space of, breathing. But we know that within a week or two or, a month, then this specialized unit will have vacated those spaces. So what needs to be realized in the long term is the establishment of what the government is promising. Remember, the Minister of the Police made submission to Q&A in Parliament regarding, the establishment of specialized units. So, and one of such being illegal mining. So it will be something that will really go a long way in terms of addressing these pressing issues of terrorizing the communities in that particular space.
So I suppose the bigger issue is right now, as you say, this is a temporary solution, and this is exactly what the comment I was making earlier is. It's not sustainable. It's certainly not sustainable on a large scale because, yes, right now it's Riverlea, but we know of all the other areas around the country, and there just isn't the manpower to actually get this done. Where do you think we actually need to try and get on top of the illegal mining? I know it's a loaded question because right now we have the guys coming out the ground, the Zama Zamas, but those aren't the kingpins. How do we get on top of this as a crime syndicate? Where do we start?
Well, we will have to address the issue of, firstly, the intelligence. We have been making this submission in this platform that, within the South African Police Service, the issue of crime intelligence is something that really needs a serious resuscitation. So, and then secondly, we need to be able to have that kind of capability to be able to trace that, these are the people that, the Zama Zamas, these are the people that were dumped, when these mines realized that the commission is not really forthcoming. And we know that, in terms of mining charter, there were supposed to be certain measures that were put in place, and amongst us others, we are aware that there has to be water pumped into those particular spaces. But the big guys seems to be, not been touched, and this issue of arresting the Zama Zamas, it's something that, just gives communities a false hope. So it boils down to the capability of crime intelligence to be able to trace that line of supply chain demand in that particular space, that what happens after, these raw materials were mined, and then what happens to smelting and who else it's going to benefit along the line. So it is only in that particular manner that, the big guys can be had, as long as, there is that kind of supply and demand, and using this kind of people that are vulnerable, something will not really come forth. And eventually, most of community members, we are aware also of school children being affected. And these people that we normally see, these are the people that were left stranded when the mines, decided to leave them, and then without proper maintenance. So
I want to ask you, Prof, about this as well, because you mentioned the community. Sorry, just before you move to another thought, it just made me realize something. Now, we've heard this before, that sometimes the communities where the Zama Zamas are, community members are very happy for them to live there because the Zama Zamas are able to buy food from them. They're able to pay some rent. So the local community does benefit, not all the time. I'm not suggesting it's always the case. but it only becomes a problem for communities like Riverlea when shootouts start happening between rival gangs. There is a community involvement in this because some members of the community do benefit from this as well. That's got to be a concern for you. Last question.
Well, it is about township economy. I mean, those people that really the government is not providing, remember, there will not be any vacuum. So whenever the government is not providing employment, those that try, their entrepreneurial skills, then they benefit out of the availability of these particular individuals here. But it is not something that is really sustainable. It is, for those who are selling, it is benefiting them. But for those who really will want to seek, and experience peace around the communities, it's something which is some sort of an eyesore. So it is something that the government and we are talking also of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. We are talking about the South African Police Service. We are talking about the JMPD. So that will need to be able to address corruption. We are aware of the allegations made around police officials around Landlaagte, whereby they are also benefiting in terms of extortion, bribery, from the same group of people that the communities are saying that they are also benefiting because they are selling, goods and services to them. So it is a dicey situation that really needs, the government and other stakeholders to be able to holistically, attend to this particular matter. It's also about the government as well as the neighboring countries. We are talking about Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Mozambique, that needs to be able to address the influx of their people within South Africa, as well as the mines themselves that, they will leave these people, frustrated without UIF, without pension and all those kinds of. So it is something that needs not only the South African Police Service, but also the government and other government departments, as well as international relations, to be able to handle this particular matter.
Yeah, I would suggest even Home Affairs is one of those ministries as well that needs to get involved. But you make such a good point. There's so many layers to this. And we raised this a couple of weeks ago. Where are the mines on this? Even though it's mines who maybe their contracts have come to an end, they're no longer commercially viable, but then these shafts are left open. That's almost a discussion for another day. We'll try and get a mining expert on that. But crime expert Jacob Mofokeng, Professor Jacob Mofokeng, making time for me. Thank you, Prof, as always.